This will be more of a case study about carbon. And what I want to do is make you there in Gano and Sweden and Scandinavia feel more confident about participating in the carbon market. As Timothy said, it is the most advanced ecosystem service market, and it is really good to see that it is likely to evolve into some of those more specific lines. But for now, I want you to consider and learn a bit more about Mosaic and how we decided to go for carbon. So there we are here over on. I'm calling in broadcasting from Nanaimo on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. It is Snuneymuxw First Nation territory. So thank you for hosting me again. I wish I could be there. Thanks to Alexandra and Peter and Maria for setting me up to be here, and I know you'll have a good field day tomorrow. Mosaic Forest Management manages two landowners on the west coast of Canada, Timber West and Island Timberlands, and both companies have been operating for over a century. We're working on 600,000 hectares approximately, mostly private land on Vancouver Island, and that's about 2% of Sweden's forest land, from what I understand. We are owned by Canadian pension funds.
Recording in progress.
These are the pension funds for public sector workers. So although we are a private company, we are held by many hundreds of thousand pensioners in Canada. We were the first forest company to get Sustainable Forestry Initiative in Canada. This allows us to have PEFC chain of custody certification. We're also the first forest owner to achieve what's called progressive Aboriginal relations. So as I go through this here quick presentation today, you will realize that in Canada, in addition to ecological services, there is also an important factor of cultural recognition and reconciliation underway in Canada with our Indigenous peoples. Mosaic was also the first forest company globally to achieve certification of its organizational carbon footprint, all the way from our trees to our customers. We're very much aware of our scope 1, 2, and 3 footprint. And that has allowed us to understand our business enough to set a goal of 2035 to be net zero. We had some big milestones in 2021. Unfortunately, here in British Columbia, we still have not developed all of the facilities to make full use of our forests, and we still have a percentage of our forests that we are unable to merchandise. So we do have open air on-site burning of our residuals, and we continue to reduce that as a big improvement in our carbon footprint. We also announced in 2021 the first trial of a full electric log truck. So we believe that will also help reduce the emissions from our business. This chart just shows here our emissions profile. And as you can see, after 2035, where we believe we have equal sequestration and emissions from our forests, that we will then begin to be a net carbon sink, and we will be sequestering more carbon than we are emitting, because durable wood products and substitution for steel and displacement of fossil fuels for bioenergy, in addition to reducing slash pile burning, means we will be storing more carbon on our forests in our business than we are releasing. Big Coast Forest Carbon Forest Climate Initiative is about primarily preserving old forests. And if you think of 1 hectare of old forest, you can imagine that in general, the amount of carbon stored on that hectare in the trees stays very stable over time. And perhaps there's a little bit of carbon continuing to be sequestered in roots and stumps, but our protocols focus on the above ground biomass. And for Mosaic, over that 100 years of operation, our primary business has been converting those old forests into the regenerated forests that you're very familiar with in Scandinavia and Sweden. And instead of that initial emission, what we're proposing with our carbon climate initiative is that we will be storing all of that carbon instead of converting it into second growth forest. That initial conversion reduces the amount of carbon stored on a landscape. And therefore, this is how a carbon credit is generated. And this is how we produce a carbon credit for the open market. There are two types of markets. For those of you who are new to this, there's the compliance market, which is set by government mandating the reduction of greenhouse gases through some regulated tax or law. And then there's the voluntary market, for which this project that we are talking about involves. Companies and individuals voluntarily offset emissions in a trusted and reputable environment. Like Timothy mentioned, as types of products evolve over time, they become more of a commodity. At the moment, the voluntary market is still very much interested in what other features and values and contributions you bring to the carbon credit market. And this standardization makes it possible through protocols. And these protocols are generally provided by 4 registries in the voluntary global carbon market space: Verified Carbon Standard, Gold Standard, American Carbon Registry, and the Climate Action Reserve. And this is one very important reason why you should be interested in carbon credits and that whole opportunity as forest owners. Increasingly, commitments are coming out of corporations to balance their footprint, become neutral. Task forces are endorsing it all over the world, and essentially markets and participants are continuing to evolve. The idea of premium nature-based products, which is what we get from our forests, is short on supply, providing good pricing environment up to 1 billion tons by 2030. And you can see in this information from Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, they believe that it'll be over 60% of voluntary commitments. You're going to hear more from Ian from Morgan Stanley later in the afternoon about his outlook on it, but I believe it's going to be very similar. So what did we do about it? At Mosaic, we went and created the Big Coast Forest Climate Initiative. These are the types of forests. 7% of our land base was set aside. Most of our remaining untouched primary forests is in this project. It's the type of forest like this, where if you listen closely, you can hear a drop of water falling from a very mossy branch 50 meters off a very mossy forest floor. The government of Canada has been very supportive of our project. It's tackling the twin crises of biodiversity and climate change. This is what one view of it looks like. In these hills will be a mix of working forests and Big Coast Forest Climate Initiative. These are some of the residents of the Big Coast Forest Climate Initiative. Very happy with what we've done. American black bear, North American black bear, very happy with what we've done. He hears the news, he stops eating to listen. The west coast of British Columbia, many, many water courses, very high density of streams, very much an important co-benefit. Another additional contribution in addition to the greenhouse gases that Big Coast Forest Climate Initiative brings. Some of our biggest detractors have come out and commended us for this project, and that additionally increases the value and the premium and the price that our customers are expressing willingness to pay as we take this project to market. These are the types of trees we're talking about. It's about 30 times my height, sometimes up to 80 or 100 cubic meters in some of these trees. It's an improved forest management project type. It's using the verified carbon standard VM00012. Old forest was the primary target for these lands. 80% of these lands have never been harvested. 80% of these lands are over 120 years old primary forest. They happen to be in socially sensitive harvest areas. Drinking watersheds, our lands are very near very many communities. And a very unique part of this project is that it is a foundation, an anchor project under what's called a group project option. So smaller landowners, Indigenous nations, private landowners, local governments who don't have the scale to necessarily start a project of this size, they can join in to our project and cost and expend significantly less at the validation stage. This is me. I'm calling from Nanaimo, British Columbia, just over from Vancouver. But this is what these 40,000 hectares look like across the landscape. They are dispersed. They provide a very important network of ecological features, in addition to storing over 10 million tons of carbon over the life of this project. And we're working with two extension partners here, Pacific Salmon Foundation. Funds from this project will be supporting their research for climate change on the coast of British Columbia. And the Indigenous Protected and Conserved Areas Innovation Program will be leveraging the funds from the sale of this project to respectfully incorporate the advice of over 30 First Nations that are involved in these lands. And they will be studying the ecology and the culture of them to help inform Mosaic for what they prefer to see done on these lands after this initial 25-year period. So I encourage you to explore the Indigenous Protected and Conserved Areas website, learn more about it, and learn more about Big Coast Forest Climate Initiative and how we have put together something we believe is unique and encouraging for all forest owners to participate in the global carbon market. Our advisors on this are Climeco, and you can reach them at the information here. This is my information. And of course, the main website is bigcoastforest.com. So I hope I made up a bit of time for you, Thomas, and I look forward to hearing from Alexandra next.